I'm not surprised I'm on this hill alone, so.
Welcome to The Story Thinker, a Webtoons and Witcher podcast for superfans with scene-by-scene analysis. Featuring sharp co-hosts for a fuller picture, we dive deep into character psychology, relationships, and theories. We'd love it if you could like, subscribe, comment, and rate us on all podcast platforms and social media. For bonus content, you can support The Story Thinker on Patreon. Let's begin. Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 165 and 166 of Let's Play. Because today we are debuting and trying out a new format. We're trying to do 2 episodes at once, and instead of panel by panel, we're doing, kind of just topic by topic. We'll see how it works out. If it goes well, it will continue. If no one likes it, we won't. So please leave your feedback below or a message. And today we have Sabra and Krystine and Sadie.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
It is also known as the Good Hair Day. So
Yeah, it's Good Hair Day.
All right, so this chapter we have the crew, and they are in World of War Quest, right? And basically they are waiting for Dion to show up because he was supposed to be completing their missing team. They're waiting, it's just taking a while. Sam gets anxious. And in the end, we have also a new player. We can talk about the new player in a bit. And in the end, we have Dion run. He's huffing and puffing. He gives her a present. And what is the present? Now we can discuss the present, that he gives her a present. And that's kind of how the chapter ends. So that's basically the chapter. So let's talk about, we can talk about the present first, or is there anything you want to talk about? The friend, I don't know if he's that important.
Well, we can talk about the gift.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do that. Okay. It is a dragon egg trading card for World of War Quest. And I did a little research, and apparently they did something similar like this in World of Warcraft. Where you could actually play a card game, and some of the cards you could redeem for pets or mounts within the game. So it was a physical entity, and which makes sense because she says there's only 2,000 of these printed. And I was like, well, that sounds like a physical thing. So it sounds like he had access to this card, and then I guess he had to I don't know, kind of like the toys you get at McDonald's nowadays. You can scan a little barcode, and then your kids can play with the toys in a digital world. It's weird, but that's a thing now. So apparently that was kind of like what she was able to redeem a mount through using this card.
Mm-hmm.
The kids that I teach inform me that this is a Pokemon thing as well. Apparently.
Now they can scan their cards,
you can
and
get the cards and play the physical card game, but then you can do some scanning or something, and then they come up on their phone. I don't know.
Yeah, they have little action figures that do the same kind of thing, like for video games. My brother collects Zelda there's a name for them, I don't even know what they're called, but there's special little action figures, and you can put them on a little console, and then you can use them as your avatar while you play your game.
Oh yeah. I think they're called amiibos. Yeah, they're
yeah, that's it. Yes.
I think I have some.
Amiibo. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, all I got was the
7-year-olds. Those are them. Yeah. She's got one right there. Wait for the visual. Awesome.
Yeah, that's impressive. Yeah, so basically this is a big deal. I think we learned in the next episode that it's really expensive. So we can see, he's huffing and puffing. He was late. Which if we're getting into theory, before we even get to the next episode, honestly, Sarah, don't shoot me. The fact that he was late made me think it's not Charles, because I think Charles is too responsible to be late. I don't know.
He's definitely, punctual,
Mm-hmm.
but his reasoning was that he couldn't. It took him longer to get than he thought. So,
which, I don't know. I feel okay, so that confuses me a little bit, because I do feel like someone like Charles would have been foreplanned, he's responsible, he would have thought about it 2 weeks ago, and he would have been okay, I'm gonna get it, and he would have had it ready, because he's just a very responsible kind of guy. I don't think it's Marshall. And again, we'll discuss extensively when we get to the next episode. But
I've
I
got
could
so
see
many
Marshall.
reasons in my head why it doesn't make sense to be Marshall, but
Yeah.
I could very well be wrong. So, we all know how I feel about this.
Yeah. Yes.
I am going to be committed to an insane asylum eventually over this. I know it.
So the other thing we could talk about in regard to this that is, theorizing about who it is that when Dion hears about, they call her Sam, right? And he's like, Sam, and then, she's like, oh, Sam is the name in real life, and she introduces the other characters. That's Angela, that's Abe, Kyle, and Vicky. And Dion's reaction is like, interesting.
Panic.
He's sweating and
shock.
What do you make of that?
So at this point, are we to believe that they have just met randomly and they are random? It's a random interaction.
Originally, when we first met Dion, I was not sure whether or not Dion knew who he was communicating with. But with this reaction, I'm confident that Dion had no idea who Ariadne was.
Really?
So just
fairly confident.
Serendipity there.
Well, that happens all the time in flicks, though.
Yeah, it's true.
That happens all the time. In real life, no, but who wants to read about real life?
Wait,
Not me.
Exactly.
You thought it was Charles and you didn't know he was playing with Ariadne? That with Sam?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, how have we been podcasting and I didn't know this?
Well, because originally I did. Originally, like the very first Dion episode, I thought that this was a deliberate thing. Okay. And then later on, I found out that Marshall had access to Sam's contact information, and he clicked on it and everything. And it's Magi Ariadne, and he's played World of WarQuest. So if anyone was able to know who it would have been Marshall.
But how do you find them? Like, I understand, like, once you find Ariadne, you're like, oh, maybe it's Sam. But
so
like,
there are all these servers. And when you sign on to a game, you usually are connected to a server because of your current location. All right. It's not impossible. You can also sign on to specific servers as well. So it doesn't matter really. But I think the reason that the fluke happened really is they were playing in a similar area. And then you had that one flower that blooms that apparently only blooms once every 2 months or so. It was a big deal. It was a big deal, and it was very valuable. And when that happens, you look at your map, you can see that it's there. You can see that it's there. So people, and they say it in there, it's like, you better hurry and get it before other people see it and start trying to get it. So yes, it's a fluke, but it's not impossible to just run into each other because there was a location that Dion was heading for. He was heading for the flower, most likely.
Okay, so you think his reaction here, if it's Charles, is like, oh my God, this is Sam. And oh my God.
If it's Charles or Marshall, right now they're saying, oh, it's Sam. Holy Hannah. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Like,
oh shit.
Even if it is Marshall, I still think that Dion had no clue. He had access and could have seen it, which is another reason why I'm like, is it really Marshall? Because he could have been oblivious to it. But when he was looking at the information on her, because he was looking at, she was a fan for my YouTube channel, whatever it was, YouTube. He was clicking on who she was and contact information, and all of it said Magi Ariadne, and he was clicking on it. Also, I just saw in 𝗟𝗏𝗡, her game, which he is playing, some of the things that he can build, Ariadne's wand or something like that is one of the things. Like when she's playing with it, that's one of the things she creates is called Ariadne's wand.
I didn't remember that.
I didn't either. It was something I literally just saw a couple days ago. Because I look. Feel free to mock me.
For everything. So wait, so then guys, so if you didn't know, this character Dion, whether it's Sam or whether it's Charles or Marshall, is giving this person he doesn't know in real life like a massive present without knowing who she is.
Oh, I have so many thoughts. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut though and let somebody else talk.
Yeah.
And if you guys want me to talk some more, I really remember that dissertation I wrote. I could totally write another one on this episode and the next episode alone.
That was a long dissertation. People, y'all head to the Facebook group if you want like to buckle down for some reading.
Yeah.
I should just do a link in the comments. I will.
I love how I have a warning in the very beginning. It's like, it's long. This is only for diehard fans.
Yeah,
So
take coffee, take a
make it to
croissant.
the end, kudos.
Yeah,
I have been told though, it wasn't boring. It wasn't boring though.
If you're good at writing, have you considered writing a webtoon of your very own?
No, I like to analyze other people's work, but coming up with my own material, I think that'd be hard. I feel like I feel like my personality would almost be plagiarizing things. It's like, well, I get this from there and this from there. And so in my brain, it would feel like I'm just copying other people's work, if that makes sense.
Everything is plagiarized from everything
It's true.
else.
It's true. It's true.
yeah, or life follows the same stories because we all relate to the same kinds of experiences.
Well, we'll see how this
Same
webtoon ends, and if not, maybe I'll do a spin-off on this one.
Sabra's like, no, and just starts writing.
How it should have ended and
Yeah.
why.
Mhm.
No.
The correct ending.
Yeah, we
No.
get married, the end.
Yeah.
And they lived happily ever after. This is so beautiful. I love it. I'm so glad I wrote it.
The creativity.
I'm brilliant. I'm so brilliant.
And we can see why you're going into voice acting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
So Dion, if Dion, whoever Dion is, does not know who he's giving this to, he's giving this present to Ariadne out of the generosity of his heart. What's going on? Tell us.
Yes. He also says it would have, well, he's not, I'm having a hard time remembering which one's which. So I'll hold off certain comments until the next episode that we discussed.
Well, I don't know. He just seems like a very generous person anyway. Like, I don't know. Yeah, my comments will have to wait till we
Well,
talk about it.
maybe we should hold off on his reasonings until the next episode, because he does talk about it a little more, and I feel like we want to say something, but we don't want to until we get to that point.
This episode we will cover.
So,
well, first, that's interesting.
the shock that he has on his face, it only takes place, so he hears the name Sam, which is a very common name, especially in this webtoon.
Yeah.
And Sam, and he shows a little confusion because they're calling him Sam. He's used to Ariadne, and when she introduces the names, it's putting the name Sam, Vicky, maybe Abe, and Angela together that makes him go, that's a little bit too much of a coincidence.
Yeah.
So there's that. That's why I think he's shocked.
Yeah. Both Marshall and Sam have met the extended cast, right?
Marshall and Charles, yes.
Yeah, sorry, I know I was.
I think not. I don't think Abe and Charles. have
Abe
met.
does not know Charles.
Yeah.
Abe does not know Charles. Abe is only familiar with Charles just because of what Vicky has told him.
Mhm.
Right.
I don't even think he knows his name.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, just scrolling through panels, anything else? We see she unlocks it. It's this massive celebration, server first dragon egg achievement. It's really cute.
Yeah.
She looks so happy.
Mhm.
It's just like,
We
and
should-
Dion looks thrilled too. They're both blushing. Like,
I know
We
the
should talk about the
blushes.
blushes. Yep, we should talk about the blushes a little bit.
Okay, so here's what confuses me. Okay, so if Dion, if Dion is Charles and he's developing a crush on Ariadne, it's kind of contradicting what he's doing with Sam in real life.
In what sense does he look like he's developing a crush for Ariadne?
Well, he's super blushing right now, and he's okay. So,
But that's only after he thinks that it's Sam.
so before then, it was just a platonic.
There's no blushes. I've looked.
Mhm.
In the previous episode that we see Dion when she's starting to role play with him a little bit, I think there's a little bit of a blush there, but it's like one of those teeny itty bitty little ones.
Mhm.
Okay, that's
Little
it.
one.
It is. It's a little one, and we do get Marshall doing that sometimes, little blushes, but he usually blushes when he's embarrassed.
Mhm.
Like when he realizes Sam's looking at the boxes with all of the lovely symbols on it from his buddies, right? He's like full blush and he's embarrassed, right? And then you've got the blushes that Charles has with Sam, where it's because she says something sweet or it touches him, you know. I've looked and I don't see many of those types of blushes with Marshall. Definitely not when Sam is involved. But Dion has one little blush in one episode and that's it. And it's when Ariadne says something that I can't remember. It was when she was starting to role play with him and he was saying thank you. But here, he's not blushing when he gives it to her. He's not blushing, and when he gives the gift, when they explain it, when he doesn't start blushing until after the connection has been made that it's Samara.
Good point.
So I do not think there was necessarily official crushing on Ariadne, whether it's Charles or Marshall before that.
So to put another theory, the fact I thought it might be a third party, like, you know, some other person that we either haven't or have been introduced to, but the fact that, like what you said, that he only is shocked after he's introduced to the whole cast makes us think that he knows them. So in terms of characters we've been introduced to, it would have to be someone who, you know, we've seen, know the rest of the cast. Maybe theoretically in some far-fetched world, it could be a character that has not been revealed to us yet, but happens to know them, but that doesn't seem very likely.
It doesn't seem very likely.
I was talking to my my beta readers about this episode, and we were like, what if it's Dream, Marshall, and what's he called? Charles Marshall, like mix up.
Oh yeah, 𝗪𝗲𝗀𝘀𝗁.
Yes.
But
like an actual physical
like
person
a real
who is 𝗪𝗲.
Yes, because he is the man of her dreams, and neither of them have any. The crackpot theory.
Well, 𝗪𝗲 would have to be introduced to Angela, Vicky, or Abe, or Kyle.
well,
Or
you
the
know
shock
what?
to make sense.
This is the fantasy element.
Yeah, could be.
I can't believe I had this dream of a girl named Sam, and it's her. And she had friends named Vicky and Angela, and it's her. I can't believe I finally found her.
Well,
But I don't know.
𝗪𝗲 is just a dream manifested anyway, so I mean,
True.
I'm comfortable with dreams.
Do you think Sam's player name has anything to do with, you know, is that some foreshadowing there? Ariadne?
Well, Ariadne and Dionysus, that's a whole Greek mythology, and I'm going to shut up.
and yes, that's, well, should we do the next episode? Because
Yeah.
I know we, yeah. Okay, are we ready to move on?
You really shouldn't read my dissertation. To be fair, though,
Sabra, pull it up. We'll spend the next 10 minutes. We'll see.
10 minutes, that's hilarious. I typed it up on Word document. I wrote until like 2:30 in the morning trying to get all my thoughts out so my brain would shut up. And it was size 11 font, and it was 7 pages long. So the fact that you want to get through it in 10 minutes, that's funny.
I think we need a special episode devoted to this.
Sorry. Why do you have me on? I can't shut up.
It's good, it's good. All right, so going to the next episode, in 166. It's after the raid, they're all sitting and schmoozing together, and Dion says he didn't want to speak in the voice chat because he's a little self-conscious. What do you think of that statement?
Bullshit.
Well, now he has a reason not to want to do it. I can't. The thing is, if it's Marshall, I don't understand why he didn't want to get on the voice chat originally. Like if he's playing with Ariadne over and over and over again, and they stopped using the Shakespearean mod, why would Marshall not want to do it? It's literally his job to talk while he plays games.
Maybe if it's not Marshall, maybe he's like me and doesn't go on voice chat because he has 8 very loud and annoying birds that live in the house.
See, I can think of lots of reasons of why somebody wouldn't want to have voice chat if it wasn't Marshall, but if it is Marshall,
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get it, Mindy.
Maybe Marshall is sick of talking all day because he's just blah 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 on YouTube and needs some peace and
There
quiet.
we go. Yep.
His voice is, of course,
So
he has a hard time maintaining that Marshall personality. Okay, that's step one, and I think it is reasonable to say that you're talked out.
It's true.
Yeah.
But every single time he plays,
Yeah,
like
sure.
to the extent that he has never played with the vocals ever with Ariadne, even though they spent hours and hours and hours and hours playing all the time, rating, where it's more convenient to talk instead of type.
But I think it's the added pressure of having Abe, Angela, and Vicky there.
But I'm talking about before.
Oh, I see.
Like, he's played with Ariadne many times, to the extent that he feels moved enough by all of the help that she's given him to give her this rare, amazing egg.
Okay, wait a second. It just occurred to me. If he's been voice chatting with Sam before, has he heard her voice? Like, has she been talking and he'd be typing?
Probably not. Because this, like this headset, it allows me to hear you and talk to you the same as it allows you to hear and talk to me. So if he had a headset, he would have to specifically turn that off. But I don't. If you look back, she's playing with him by her, like it's just the two of them. She's not wearing a headset.
She's typing. So because if he would have heard her voice, he should have known, and he knew her, right? He should have realized.
Yeah, I think Dion has only ever communicated via typing.
You know, if it was Charles, then maybe he just doesn't want to answer 90 million questions about his Welsh accent, or maybe people can't understand him because some Welsh is completely unintelligible.
Yep. My thinking on if it's Charles, Charles would be new to gaming and rating and talking on while he's playing, and I think he could have a genuine reason of not. He might not even have like a gaming kind of headset. You know, there's a lot of reasons, and he was not in a guild before. He was just playing solo. So he might not have been equipped for it. It's just, if he's new to gaming, which it sounds like he is, because he did say he's starting to game. He talked to Sam about that when she was feeling bad about Ruminate doing well now, right? But I think it makes sense to me in that sense. If it's Charles, that makes sense to me. It doesn't make sense in my brain if it's Marshall.
Okay, so remember, the only thing that I have opposed to that is that, remember he said he's like all the way leveled up. How would you get to that if you're new to gaming?
So, you want me to keep talking? I've got so much to say, and I don't want to be the only one talking. I'm so sorry. I think that has to do with a little bit with the Shakespearean mod. And how, because you literally type a sentence and it changes it into Old English as you type. So him saying the peak of my understanding, she took it as max level. It could easily be I leveled up.
Interesting. Okay.
Now, even if it was the max level, you can reach max level and still get higher. Like you reach a level in World of Warcraft, and that's fine, that's great, but that's not the point. You can become more powerful after you reach the max level. All of the gear that you put on, the helmet, the breastplate, the leggings, the sword, all of that can be leveled up. You can get more stronger material. It's one of the reasons why people always keep playing, is because there's really no max.
If he's doing that, because they were fishing in in 165, weren't they?
Yeah,
fishing is
not 165, but yeah, the previous Dion episode.
Yeah, fishing. I don't play World of Warcraft, but fishing is quite often a way to get XP. Like in I play Final Fantasy. In those games, you know, you go out and do a whole bunch of fishing, and it's a really good way of like boosting your level up without actually having.
We're collecting materials.
Collecting materials, yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So if he is doing a lot of you know, fishing and stuff, maybe he is a baby gamer and just trying to kind of gather some points without having to die every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fishing is safer.
Yeah.
Yes.
The easiest way to level up.
Okay, well, I have something to say about like the something you said before, but we'll get to it when we get into some more debates. So a little bit more. We have the cute little character. We have what is it? The scepter. Nothing to say about that, right?
Okay.
Am I missing some reference here? Like, is it?
Well, the reason, so remember at the very beginning when we met Dion, she said, I see you're still using the tome, the big book that was on his back. She said if you used a scepter, you'd be more powerful. You'd be a more powerful sorcerer. So this is him. So he did, it wasn't an easy thing to get. It wasn't just something that you buy in one of the little shops to get it. You probably, as you start off as a sorcerer, you get little tombs or scrolls or something, and they get, you know, bigger and more impressive or something like that. And now they had this new edition, or where you could get a scepter, and it looks like you had to battle somebody to get it. And I'm just gonna say it now, the scepter matches Charles's cell phone.
Yes, okay, fine. Yeah, that is a detail.
You saw Charles's cell phone, and I saw Sakura from Card Captors. That's her scepter.
Yeah.
That's
what
cute.
I-
It's
yeah.
probably from that then. It's probably from that then.
But with
I
the
thought
card,
I thought Sailor
the
Moon
card as
too.
well. Yeah. I was like, yeah, it's
Those
got
are references I'd miss.
I haven't heard those words, so.
We're speaking another language.
and like 90s anime
Mhm.
for little girls. Kind of, I think Sailor Moon, but with playing cards
Yeah.
that have come to life, and that's Card Captors.
Super cute.
So who's
It's
the,
so cute.
when Kyle says that he's got the boss dropped it, who's the boss? Is that Ariadne?
They raided. No. Oh no. They raided. When you're in the World of WarQuest or Warcraft, you can go to specific locations on a map, and there will always be the same raid that you could do over and over and over again. Same battle that you can battle over and over and over again to get new loot, to get new levels, peak levels, and whatnot. So they were doing a special raid that has a chance to drop certain things, and one of them was the scepter. So once they beat that level boss, that raid boss, when he died, he dropped a whole bunch of cool stuff, and one of them was a scepter.
Just occurred to me, by the way. I mean, it's literally as superficial as that pink. I was trying to think of alternative besides for like Charles's pink phone. I'm like, what if it's Monica? Monica seems to be the person who would appreciate this one.
Totally would.
I think Monica would have a different avatar. I don't think she would be like rocking the dark mage Vivi look.
I don't know if she'd pick a
With the hat.
combination between Charles and Marshall. She'd totally be some badass though.
I agree.
It'd be like some kind of big Valkyrie looking.
Yeah, like Angela's.
Yeah, like Angela's. Yeah.
Can I just say one thing? Another reason why I don't think it doesn't sound like Marshall to me is good work on the raid tonight, Dion. That's Abe. And said, thanks a lot. I had fun. I hope I did okay. Okay, Marshall raided for years
Marshall
with his buddies in a guild.
This is why it doesn't read like Charles at all to me. Charles is confident. Charles is like snarky. Charles is superior. Marshall is more like self-effacing and humble.
And that could be true. That could be true, but it also, I feel like when somebody says, I hope I did okay, when they know they did really well, I feel like that's fake.
Marshall doesn't think that of himself. Marshall is like, he lacks confidence in himself.
He is small.
True,
puppy.
but
he needs the reassurance because he is small puppy.
True.
Well, the whole point of me thinking that Charles is Dion is I want it to be us seeing a different layer of Charles that he doesn't show anybody else. So I see Charles all tied up and bundled up, and when he's in public and when he's around people, he ties himself all tight and confined. That's not who he was before the trauma. That's not who he was before the trauma at all. You see him when he comes home, he's very loosey-goosey, he's kind of nerdy and geeky. After the trauma of what his wife did to him, he locked down his personality, in my opinion. This is what I see. And so Dion, for me, I was hoping that it would be Charles, because I wanted to see him let go a little bit more. And I wanted us to get another layer of Charles. I wanted us to see, because Charles is self-conscious in a lot of ways. He has had moments where he second guesses himself, but he doesn't share those openly. So this was me hoping that we're seeing something more and deeper from Charles and that Dion had a purpose to let us see that layer of him, as opposed to us just seeing Marshall sad and second guessing everything that he does. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's original, but I hear that point.
You see, and these are just my theories.
Mhm.
And obviously I'm not Mongi. It's not my story to write. So.
Or is it?
Yeah.
I could be Mongi. No.
She's like, I'm Mongi now.
No, would not do that to her. She's brilliant. No, I just, there's just things about Dion that don't scream Marshall to me. And like he says, I hope I did okay. He rated for years. He should be able to hold his own. And we'll get to more. There's a couple more that are coming up that it just doesn't seem right to me, but.
So nobody, and this came up when I was talking to my my girls about it again, but they were like, we haven't seen Link in a while properly. Has Link taken up gaming? Is it Link?
Ooh.
Dun, dun, dun.
I feel like that would be returning. Okay, so I have a couple things. I am really hoping for it to not be one of Marshall or Charles, just because it's interesting and different. But it's kind of hard because, yeah, if it's Link, for example, that would be putting the story back in a place that it stopped already. You know, like we had the romance pick up, and then
He's not interested in her.
Yeah, so it's
he already knew she was kind, right? He already knew what kind of person she was deep on the inside, which is what matters, but he wasn't physically attracted to her. So I'm not sure how Dion finding out that this is her would be a magical moment. And plus he's known her for ages, and Angela and Vicky. My guess is that he would know their avatars.
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't play, I'm assuming that they would hang out on a regular basis. My guess is that Link would have actually seen who they play with. I don't know.
Yeah.
So why do you think if this person knows who Sam is and everybody else in the gang, why didn't they go, oh my god, it's me?
That's what I thought Marshall would do.
I'm like, that's a big question.
I felt
Charles
if it was
is
really
very
Marshall,
straightforward, isn't he? It's the
Charles,
kind of thing he would just, you know, oh hi, it's me.
If it was Charles, there's no way on this planet he would say it was me.
Yeah, I do agree.
They have talked about gaming in his presence constantly, and he has never once mentioned anything, and except to Samara when he was trying to make her feel better that he has started gaming, but that is a side of himself that he doesn't show to anybody. And I think it might be from, you know, shyness, embarrassment. I mean, maybe his wife didn't like the fact that he played Dungeons and Dragons or something like that, because I still think he did that, because we saw that one little blip into his mind where he was sitting at the dungeon master's table. So I think there are parts of him that he's slightly embarrassed by, and he wouldn't say that. I did hear somebody's theory that if it was Charles, maybe he wanted to get really good at gaming and then say, hey, what if I join you on a raid, when he's kind of, you know, I know, isn't that kind of cute? You know, where he didn't actually seek her out. And then Marshall's been invited by Abe to play. He has an old guild. So to me, I was like, there's so many. Why wouldn't, if it's Marshall and he had this promo card, he played with a guild for years. Does he not have a good friend that he could have given that card to when they started playing? Because he did say, he said it was like a waste on him. It's like, why would it be a waste for you? He could have, for his YouTube channel, done a whole big special on it. It would have been a big deal. It would have drawn lots of views.
Okay, that's a good idea.
So I'm like, why would it be useful for him? Why would it be useless for him to have that? That doesn't make sense to me. But I did think, I saw some theories, if it was Charles, he works for a multi-million-dollar company that handles tons of information and servers and upgrading software, things like that. And Sam's only worked for the company for a year. So Charles has worked for this company for between, we think, 4 and 7 years after his divorce. This is us just theorizing on how long it's been. But what if they helped with some software promo? That would be a good gift to give a company, you know, like in a fruit basket, I don't know, you know, and it just some goodies and things to give somebody. And for Charles, he doesn't even play the game. It would have been a waste on him. So why use it?
If it was Marshall, why didn't he just pop next door and give it to her?
I know, right?
It's a physical item.
It is.
So he, you know, and he gave her that way back in the beginning, he gives her that big wad of cash. And if this was going to be so meaningful to her,
he knew she played.
Yeah, then surely you'd have gone, I know what I can give her that's better than cash.
Wait,
But it's like how Sam reacted, like with the water cash. She would have been like, no, it's too much. Like, no, I'm not going to accept it.
Yeah, that's probably true, but that wouldn't have stopped him from trying to give it to her. I feel like, you know, if it was Nate, you know, like he's right next door, isn't he?
I think it was the added like peer pressure of like, you know, the whole gang there being like, this is a once in a lifetime thing, like duh, take it. Like,
and if he was gifted it because he's a YouTuber, right? I just think that in his world, he would know somebody who would want it.
Yeah.
And he's such a heart, you know, he's such a heart boy that he would have probably thought of his best gilding buddy and given it to him right then and there. Why would he be held on to it for so long if it was such a big deal?
But then why wouldn't Charles give it to Sam? Because he knows she plays.
Because he maybe didn't even think about it. He hasn't played the game or anything. I mean, really, if he was given it, he hasn't played with her. He's familiar with the game. Like, did she say what game she plays?
I think
He knows that she raids. But there's lots of games that do that. Did he know specifically what game she plays?
I'm not gonna look right now.
Well, no, like have you thought of anything?
No,
I don't even know if she's ever said what game she plays.
I don't think she does, but I don't know. I'm getting more
Charles
confused
anyway.
by the moment.
I really am so confused, Mindy. I'm so confused.
If it was a completely someone that was new to us, maybe the blushing was, oh my god, I know Ariadne's real name now. Swoon.
But he wouldn't have known because of hearing the friends' names. Or maybe, I guess you were saying just Sam. Not he kind of looks at them in shock. I don't know.
I genuinely don't know if anyone has discussed this before, but the dark mage character is it's like a caricature of Vivi from Final Fantasy IX. Yay!
Yeah.
fellow Final Fantasy nerds. And in Final Fantasy IX, Vivi is he's a little dude. He's tiny and he's adorable and really clumsy, but he's only 6 months old.
Oh wow!
Because he has been created. He's an artificial being, basically. You know, someone made him, and then and that's why he hasn't got like a face and everything. It's the hat and the little glowy yellow eyes.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he's like a little dude with like a big hat, and he's got massive feet, and he's adorable. I love him. But you know, he's got this very short, accelerated lifespan thing going on. And I just wondered if that, you know, had any, because there has been other Final Fantasy references, Final Fantasy IX references through the series.
Yeah, why is his face still covered all the time when we've already seen the face?
Because it doesn't have one.
Well, no, I'm just saying, why does Dion keep his face covered? Is it to kind of symbolize this character that you're talking about? It's a little interesting.
The race, the race, all of the mages, they just don't have a face because they're not a physical being.
Only reason I'm mentioning it is because we have seen Dion take his hat off and see his face.
Okay, I'm with you. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So that's why I was just mentioning it, because that's how we know he looks like Karma. And she was like, "What's the man?"
It's him.
I'm so confused.
Because of the Karma, it made me think lots of things, because the man of her dreams, I mean, it could mean endgame. It could mean, it kind of narrowed it down to those 3 individuals to me, though. That kind of deleted the third entity, where it could be Link, which I don't think. He's interested in Angela. I don't think he'd be blushing for Ariadne. He's got 2 jobs. He just doesn't seem like the avid gamer to me. And he's had many opportunities having gamers for friends. So, yes. And I think if he just did decide to jump on, he would jump on with that guild anyway, without feeling weird about it. So that kind of left Charles and Marshall to me, because of Karma's face. If we never saw Karma's face, then I'd have been like, whoever it is, stalker, random entity, I don't know. But because we saw Karma, I felt like there was a purpose behind that. And that's the other thing. Why would, so, okay, if it looks like Karma, World of Warcraft, you have so many options on details for developing a character on World of Warcraft. You know, you can look at their eye shape, you can look at everything, their facial structure. So why is it likely that Marshall would create a character that looks like a combination between him and Charles, or vice versa?
Yeah, why?
Why would Charles create it? And I was like, Marshall, why would he make his eyes blue? Because it's like the exact same color as his dad's, and he obviously is not buddy with his dad. So that's a far-fetched thing, but that was just something I was thinking about. But then I was thinking, what if Charles was trying to make an avatar? Karma to me looks most like Marshall. Charles.
Well, it looks like Marshall is the body shape of Marshall.
I've seen, you know, to be fair though, I've seen well, it's actually from Sam's own description. She says that Karma has Charles's eyes. He has Charles's face, except the mouth. The mouth is Marshall's face. Sorry, the mouth is Marshall. Yeah, from Marshall's mouth. And then we see it's Charles's body. In my personal opinion, is Charles's body because it's more muscular but lean. I've done comparisons from similar time frames.
Yes, for research.
For research purposes only.
For science.
And I just happened to check against Link's body as well, just for research.
Actually,
but
in this case, it really is for research.
I am obsessed and I have issues. We're just gonna put it out there. I'm fully aware. My husband understands and still loves me. So.
Side by side, print them out. You know, measure with the tape measure.
I've even looked at their hands, and it's Charles's skin tone, for crying out loud.
That is true. He does have Charles's skin tone.
Yep. So for me, it looks more like Charles, except for the mouth and for the hair. But to be fair, I've seen Mongi do a shaggy hair Charles without coloring it, and it looks just like Marshall.
It's true.
I mean, and if you look at Mr. Lawson, I was like, that looks a little too much like an old version of Charles, you know? So I think there's a lot of similarities between Marshall and Charles artistically. It's hard to really tell. So you can find whatever you're looking for, to be honest. You can say it looks more like Marshall, it looks more like Charles. But because of the skin tone, the body build, the eyes and everything like that, it makes me think more Charles, except the hair. But Sam did tell Charles that she liked Jen's old hairstyle. So that's why I was like, I think it's more likely that Charles could create an avatar that looks a little bit like Marshall, as opposed from Marshall picking an avatar that looks a lot like Charles. I think way too much about this. I'm sorry, I'll shut up now.
The avatar making thing. What if it's like, oh God, what game? I think it was Football Manager, which is not something that I play, but Monsieur 𝗟𝗂𝗍𝗀𝘀 does play. And he showed me once that it's got a facial scanny thing. So you just sit in front of it and press the button, and then it scans you, and then it makes a little avatar that looks like you. Except it never works on Monsieur 𝗟𝗂𝗍𝗀𝗀 for some reason. He always comes out grey and looks like a zombie. It's really odd.
That reminds me of Tangled, where they can't get Eugene's face right, so his nose is always wrong. That's funny.
Oh,
yeah, but you know, if it was something like, you know, something like that, it's kind of, you know, oh, I just press the button and then that's it, it's done. That That could still be either of them, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Probably
Charles is just sitting in some poor lighting.
Destiny. It could have been destiny to look like karma.
Yeah.
So what's the next part? We're going to talk about how he is looking at her,
Yeah.
you know, and how he says, I still can't believe it's her. See, that's another
Yes.
clue that he didn't know who it was beforehand.
Right. And now, but he knows her.
Mhm.
So yes, that's for sure. I mean, he definitely knows her because of what he says in 5 seconds. But, you know, I was wondering, right? I asked before, I was like, why would he give her this gift if he doesn't know it's Sam? So he just says, right, she's gone out of her way to be kind to her, and he wants something to give her something that will put a smile on her face. So whoever it is, it was probably platonic, as we were discussing. You know, she was nice to him, he was appreciative, he wanted to give her something nice. Okay.
Yep.
Fine, we'll go for that. Which I should have thought of, but I honestly thought it was, I don't know. I can't anymore, because I really thought it was more Marshall, right? But then I didn't think Marshall was developing romantic feelings for her, but I thought that Dion was. So I kind of like didn't, like, those two theories don't go together.
Mhm. Well, that's the thing. We've seen her interact with Marshall a lot. Well, not a lot, but, you know, several times. And not once has he shown any interest like that. And she's been kind to him. She's pulled him through tough spots. She helped save that little game that he was playing, and you know, and she's talking to him about her game, but never has he shown her any interest in person, in real life, the real her right there. And I'm just like, but he's falling for her now that he knows she's the digital Ariadne. It doesn't mesh to me.
Wasn't he making eyes at her on the balcony though, when she was?
I think he just saw her boobies and was like, oh, look at the time. That's the thing. He's a boob guy, and we have seen him like accidentally like boob graze it and being like, ooh, wow. But you know, that's more sexual, like that's more
physical reaction rather
physical reaction rather than, you know, deep connection with someone.
It's like what we do with half of the people we lust after. It's like,
exactly. It's like, wow, that's a nice body, and then 2 seconds you forget about him. What? You guys, sorry.
I have this slide. When I was a kid, there was this shop in our neighborhood that my friend and I used to like to go to, and it was a gift shop. So I had a bunch of these beautiful trinkets and like clay castles and mugs and whatever. And it had a sign that said, "Nice to look at, nice to hold, but if you break it, we call it sold." And I always think of that line in reference to how human beings like lust after physical bodies, right? And how we, you know, we make jokes, we're like, look at celebrities' pictures, we're like, oh, he's so hot, look at his abs. So I always think nice to look at and nice to hold, but if you break it, like if you break the person's heart, you call it sold, you know, we call it sold, meaning like you can have that attraction to a person's physical things, but like don't mess with their heart. Like if you break with their heart, like he's yours.
Yeah.
So that's my little motto, I guess.
I like it.
Okay, yeah, so just proceeding a little further, he says, you know, he can't believe it's her, so there's that. And now he lets something slip, because he says, he's like, yeah, she wants to make sure people are having fun, especially games. And he's like, yeah, I can tell, especially with how she made a ruminate.
Now I have a question though. Okay, we can keep going, but let's keep going.
Okay.
I'm still confused.
So Abe is like, ruminate. How do you know she made a ruminate? You just found out a few hours ago working with Sam. He's like,
Pause really quick.
Mm-hmm.
She has played solo with Dion for several weekends. How could it could very easily come up in a conversation saying, yeah, I created a game online that's called Ruminate.
Right. He's not quick on his feet. Sorry.
But no, I'm saying Abe. Abe is like, I know who it is now because of Ruminate. That's it. And I'm just saying, he was playing with her. They were friends. They've been talking a lot. He just gave her this gift. And Abe automatically assumes that it has to be this one individual because he just says that one word. That makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Maybe he knows something outside of what we know that we'll find out later.
I don't know. It just doesn't fit in my brain.
I didn't go to the same conclusion that Abe did, honestly. But the truth is because I think you have to take an extra step to think, hey, they were playing together. Maybe they could have just talked about it. But in that case, if that was the case, Dion should have just said so, right? So like the fact that Dion has that reaction probably tips Abe off to the fact that he knows her in real life.
Mhm. At this point, when it comes to this next phase, I'm just like, I don't know.
What? You do know, you wrote a whole essay.
Well, no, like, if I'm wrong, this whole scenario makes no sense to me. It really doesn't. It doesn't.
All right, so let's do the next thing, and then we'll have more extensive debates. So Abe is like, you know, gives him a furrowed eyebrow, and he's like, "Oh, I see." And by the way, the character design for Abe is just stunning, like
Oh, she's gorgeous.
beautiful, like just beautiful lady. And he's like, "What? What do you see? Well, are things getting weird? Should I flag for PvP?" Really funny, cute little Kyle. And like Dion is just sweating bullets, and he's like, "It's," and he says, "You must be martial law, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, right," which is very shady. And Kyle's like, "Martial law?" And he's like, "Never." And you know, it's this part is cute because you think he's like, "Oh my God, you're the famous YouTuber."
Yeah.
Then he's like, "Never heard of you."
Heard.
Which
I love that. I don't know why Kyle has been added at this point in the
He's
story,
been mentioned before.
but
Oh,
I
yeah.
already love him.
I know.
His little avatar is so cute.
He's so cute, and he's witty, and yes, I'm enjoying this character.
I love how he's a daddy too.
Mhm.
He's a daddy of what, 5 kids? Just 5?
Yeah.
Cute.
I thought he might be like a patron or something because it was like a random introduction.
Oh yeah,
But I haven't seen any mention of it. But he's cute.
he's
He's
cute.
very nice.
Sweet.
Mhm. I wonder, by the way, I wonder a little bit if his reaction afterwards is like self down, because I always say, like, if I ever meet a celebrity in like a grocery store, I'm gonna like leave them the heck alone because it's not nice, like bother them, right? Like they get so much attention. So I wonder if his first reaction was like his real reaction, martial law, and then he's like, "Oh, no, I can't."
He's like, I don't know who you are. I went straight from to, I don't know you.
I don't know you. Click, 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 click.
Exactly. Yeah.
So funny, slight tangent, funny story. I have worked at the same place teaching music for a long time now, and I used to work in the shop that's attached to teaching studios as well. And because music shops are a rarity now, and we are literally up the road from a big theatre, we used to get a lot of, like celebrities, I used to tell famous musicians would come into the shop and buy things. We also have a famous rugby team in the town that I live in as well. And I can honestly, hand on heart, say, I did not recognise some of these
Really?
at all. And there's a guy who he doesn't anymore, he's retired now, but he used to do you have Countdown over there? Do you have Countdown? It's like a game show with letters and numbers, and you have to make words in 30 seconds. And okay, well, he hosted Countdown for years and years and years, and I spent like a good half hour selling him a violin. And my boss goes, "Do you know who that was?" And I'm like, "No."
No.
I have a story like that too. My dad, he was in charge of a playhouse for some time, and they were doing a special sesquicentennial event for Utah, and they wrote a whole big script for the pioneers and everything like that. And my dad introduced me to the gentleman that wrote it. When I was little,
Wow.
this is like 20 years ago, like 10, or probably like 15. And my dad says, "This is Orson Scott Card." And I'm like, "My name is Sabra Marie Smith," thinking we had to use our middle names or something. I had no idea who it was. Then I went like home and I see a whole bookshelf of my dad's dedicated to Orson Scott Card, going, "That is now officially the most embarrassing moment of my life." I had no idea who he was.
Orson.
And I relived that moment.
Right.
Oh yeah, he's big. He's big.
That's so funny. Yeah, Nebula. Yeah, sure. My friend's very big into sci-fi. So she would.
Yeah, he's a huge sci-fi author.
Oh, so nice. Okay. Cool.
Ender's Game. He's famous for Ender's Game along with
yeah.
other things.
I don't read sci-fi. At least I'm not yet. I'm trying very hard to expand my repertoire. But
Well, but you can't go wrong with any of his books. He's got you'll probably want to stick with his sci-fi stuff. He has also a lot of religious work as well, but whatever your fantasy is. Fantasy? That's not what I meant to say. You know what I mean.
Oh, I was like, another genre. All right. So anyway, Ariadne calls him outside. We'll do some more discussion later, obviously, but Ariadne calls him outside, and he, she wants to show him something, basically. She shows him this circle, this portal. They go in there. He's washing a gun. Okay. She takes his hand. It's getting more intense. And they go to this beautiful world. It's stunning. It's just beautiful. And he's like, what? And the way he talks does not sound like Charles at all. But okay, he's like, wow, I'm sorry, this is so Marshall to me. Wow, wow. Would Charles ever say that?
No.
Well, for one, it's typed.
But
And I'm just like, I know. To me, I'm not really been really sure how he wow or when I read it, I read it more like stuttering, like wow, we that's how I read it originally. And then other people were saying wow, and I'm just like, that's not how I read it. I could be wrong, but that's not how I read it. So that's how if Charles had said it, I agree. I don't think he would say wow, but I think would have said more like a stuttering, like we're in this really amazing place and he doesn't know what to say. That's how I read it. So
I don't see him stuttering either. I don't know. He's too confident.
He's confident in his persona that he portrays to people.
Okay.
When he talks to her about, like, when she's talking to him straightforward about how his wife is hurting him still, when they were having that conversation before things got spicy, he's not confident in talking about those things. Has he ever talked about his nightmares? Has he ever talked about those kinds of things? There's or when he says, when we're first getting a glimpse that he has trauma, when he gets that message from Eve and he's like, I guess I'm still, I sure do attract, questionable people, just the same as always. He has parts of him that are not confident. We just can't see them yet. That's why I'm just hoping that Dion was this kind of layer where we could see him be vulnerable, right? So I think somebody who traps themselves down as much as Charles does with the chains, he's not a really confident person. He's very good at hiding things.
I hear. I guess with that theory, I can kind of see it.
But also, like, I think as someone who used to play this game a lot, I think for him to see like an area that he's probably never seen before is probably like, he's obviously like awestruck, like, wow, like this is something like I've never seen in this game before. That's probably what, like, he's a,
yeah, he's just in awe of it.
Yeah, in awe. Yeah,
that would be like a Marshall thing though, because
both. Yeah, it could be both.
That's what I meant as a, like, if it was Marshall, like,
because he would have been all over the map. Yeah. And she does say that she got access to a beta tester, and that makes me think that maybe she worked, like the people that at work, she have some kind of connections with the game World of WarQuest.
Well, that was nice.
Which could tie into Charles, right? Also, she says this really cute line at the end, "Welcome home, Dion." And this could be Marshall or Charles, because Marshall kind of had a broken home, and Charles has this dream of having a happy home. His dad was never there. He was raised by his mom. So I thought that was a very sweet line. It works for either or. To me, it seems a little bit more special with Charles, but that's only because we know more about Charles right now, and so my heart hurts for him a little bit more with this welcome home comment, because it doesn't seem like he's been able to achieve that dream of a happy home. We haven't had that theme yet really with Marshall. I mean, we've seen the trauma of it, but to me, it doesn't sound like it's a place he would want to go back to.
Well, he needs a new one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, so that works for either or. We can also talk about Ariadne and Dionysus, Greek mythology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before that,
And
I was kind of saying we didn't discuss his reaction when they accused him of being martial law. And he's like, yeah. So,
oh yeah,
yeah. Okay, two things. If it's martial, it could be reasonable because it's like, okay, he's embarrassed. Fine.
yeah.
If it's Charles, why would he lie and take someone else's identity? I feel like that's very wrong.
I
Why
don't
not?
think I'll tell you my opinion. If it's Charles, I don't think, well, for one, Charles doesn't know who Abe is from Adam. He's never been introduced to him.
But
He's
he
got
should be
no,
part of their friend group.
what?
You should know that he's part of that friend group because he was introduced with Vicky and
Well, now, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying that's the first time they've ever raided together. He's not familiar. He knows that, you know, he's friends with Sam. But if martial law, yeah, that's me, right? You know, he's not trying at this point. He's not trying to pretend, like, portray himself as Marshall or Ben, because he knows who martial law is. But maybe he wasn't ready to give up his identity. Also, things were broken off like right away. So I don't know. For me, it would be sheer panic. Like, well, actually, I'm her boss.
I agree with the sheer panic part. That makes sense, but it's so wrong to do that. It's
I
like
think it's
a real
wrong
person.
if it gets, well, see, what about Marshall though? Is he going to tell Ariadne that it's Marshall now that Abe knows? Is Abe going to tell?
Yeah, yes.
Or is Abe going to tell? And maybe Charles wants, if it's Charles, maybe he would want to keep it still on the what am I trying to say? If it's Marshall, he maybe want to keep it on the down low because he hasn't opened up and said, hey, Abe just figured out who I was. I'm Marshall. But Charles, if he's not ready for Sam to know that he's a gamer, he could just panic. Yeah, right.
Is
That's
it not
who I
a
am.
group chat thing though on the headsets? Is it not, you know, like on Discord, you know, where it's just like, you know, everybody can hear everybody?
You can, but you can also directly send a message. Yeah.
In a sense, it looks like, at least for this scene, it looks like she's with the other people. So she's chatting with some other people and he's, you know, with Sam and Kyle.
And she said she turned off whisper mode ages ago. And so maybe she's not a part of that chat. So for me, if it's Marshall in this moment, we've waited 8 months
Right.
for Dion's reveal. And if this is the reveal, my face was the exact same as Abe's face at this moment. It's like, really? Okay. It wasn't hard. It wasn't hard for Abe to figure it out if it is Marshall. It was literally like, oh, you played Ruminate, you're martial law. I didn't expect it to be that easy.
Yeah.
And it was really easy. And to me, it was underrated. We're not underrated. It was like,
Underwhelming.
Underwhelming. Thank you. Yeah, it was really underwhelming. If this is the moment,
But yeah.
After 8 months of all of this, who is it? It was very underwhelming.
But it's also, they also have that saying that like it's usually like the simplest answer is the correct one.
Not in literature though. Well, I mean like in real life, yeah, but in literature, people usually go for the mic drops, the aha moments, you know.
That's true.
And we've had many of those amazing moments in the story so far already. And so that's why even people that were dead certain it was Marshall mentioned, it's like, well, it was kind of a weird way to do it. It was kind of a weird anticlimactic moment. Martial law. Yeah, it was me.
That's a bit Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, his response is suspect.
Yeah, is just, I don't know. It's just weird to me. But it's not my story to write. It's Mongi's story, and I'm sure she's got amazing twists and turns down the road. Yeah, it's Mongi's story. like I'm monkey. Oh my gosh, you guys tease me like that. No, yeah, that's just, that didn't make sense to me.
I like
So.
how we supposedly got an answer and all it did was inflame the debates even more and nobody knows.
Well, and that just kind of makes the reveal even stranger, doesn't it? It's not, nobody is like, that's definitely a reveal. It's more like, wait, what? Everybody is like, wait, what? That was it? Because it's all the confusion still. So for me, if it's a red herring and it's really Charles, that's going to be epic going back to it, right? But I don't know.
But also, like, if it's like just someone also random too, that's also kind of like a letdown too. It's like, well, why?
Right.
Yeah, for me.
Yeah.
Well, okay, here's another thing. Tell me the purpose of Dion if it's Marshall. He's her next door neighbor.
I think it's to like, I guess, have Sam and Marshall interact in the gaming world, which is their similar thing. I mean, I don't know. To me, it's different. Your personality is kind of different when you're in real life versus like when you're in a game.
See, and that's another thing though. That doesn't make sense for Marshall. He literally broke off a relationship with Monica, or they broke it off because he felt guilty that he was not being himself. That he was not, I don't want to be dishonest, that I'm not truthful about who I am, So the fact that Marshall wants to role play now all the time, it sounded like he was exhausted with role playing.
Sure.
Like he doesn't want to have a relationship where he's pretending, and now he's literally going to start a relationship where he's pretending. I mean, if he doesn't tell Ariadne who he is now, he's legitimately doing the exact same thing that he did with Monica.
But this just happened 5 seconds ago. That's the thing. So he just found out. He was playing with someone he thought was this random person, right? He was just chilling and letting go, right? He was just relaxing. So yeah, we have to see how he acts now.
Yeah. Well, my thing about the role playing thing is I didn't see Marshall as wanting to role play now. That's the thing. Although it very well could be, because Dionysus is the god of wine and the god of theater. And Marshall has been portrayed with the comedy and the tragedy faces, the masks. So it very well could be Marshall. But the whole thing about Marshall wanting to immerse himself into role play, it didn't make sense to me. Because
he's under a lot of pressure in his outside world. I think this is his escape.
Yeah, I think, I agree with that. I think it's like,
because he doesn't know who Marshall is and he doesn't know who Ben is. And so he's just, to me, that it's just creating another persona though. He's not combining them all together.
Yeah, I don't know. He's obviously avoiding doing that, right? It's hard for him.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just doesn't ring true to me, and I don't see it. We've never, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. And so we're just going to have to see where she takes it. It doesn't make sense to me. My theories with Charles, it did make sense. It made sense with me to have him interested in role playing. If he is into Dungeons and Dragons, that's all role play, all role play.
Sure.
If he's all tied up and bundled up and not allowed to, he doesn't allow himself to let loose and let go, then I can see him wanting to role play in another world. So to me, it makes more sense with Charles, which is another reason why I've been so dead set on this mountain of mine that Dion is Charles. It makes more sense to me because no matter what, everything that people have told me about Marshall being Dion, it still doesn't make sense to me plot wise. I don't understand the purpose of Dion if it's Marshall, because they're literally right next door. They were friends. There's no awkwardness between them. There doesn't have to be any secrets between them. They both know each other game. They both know that they used to game. If he finds out now, if he tells her that it's Marshall, right? What's the point of Dion? Right?
True.
Like if she finds out now that that's Marshall, then what's the point? They just
Well,
hang out together now, right?
I guess
But
here's what could be a point. He just broke up, right? And now he's available on the market. And Sam is this,
well, they're
sweet
separated,
girl
right?
next door, right? And he didn't think of her that way before. Maybe by him playing and developing this relationship with Ariadne and enjoying her and appreciating her, realizing what a kind person she is. Now he's like, oh my gosh, it's Sam. Maybe that will put their relationship in a whole new light. And he's like, wait, she's available and I can.
Does he think she's available?
Okay, that's another discussion. But like maybe he starts thinking like, oh, I like her. Maybe he starts developing feelings for her.
Yeah.
But yeah, the available part is questionable.
My guess is if it is Marshall, and we're moving on with the story, is maybe he shows some interest in her, which is kind of sketchy to me because he doesn't know about the contract with Charles. And from his perspective, they're together, they're seeing each other. Or maybe he does know about Charles's, unless I don't think Eva would tell him about that in-depth sexual part of her life. That would be disgusting.
She might have just said something along the lines of,
it's not serious.
We're just seeing each other. It's nothing.
Yeah, but I don't think he could really apply that to his relationship with Sam, though.
Well,
right?
she could have said, "Oh, Charles is not ready for a relationship with anybody. I can't go out with him anymore. He's just so cold. He doesn't want. All he wants is sex." I could see her say that in a moment of passion.
Yeah, I guess so. But I think from Marshall's perspective, unless he asks outright, he's gonna probably assume that they're in a relationship.
Yes.
I'm assuming. So either he starts flirting with her and she starts, if she knows it's Marshall, maybe she starts flirting back. It's like, oh, this is Dion and we had a lot of fun. And then you get Charles here, who's now reliving his trauma.
Right.
And you'll probably see more conflict, and maybe we get more villainization of Charles, which I'm totally not on board for. That poor bean needs love, and granted he needs, man, I just, the idea, like, I guess I just put myself in his shoes. I had a cousin that her husband did basically the same thing. He got caught basically the same way. And it's just the emotional trauma that she went through. It was tragic. And it doesn't matter if you're male or female, you go through that, you put your heart on the line. That's really damaging. And Mongi's stories have always been about building people up and getting through trauma. And so having Charles relive his trauma with Sam getting in a relationship, and maybe he just runs away, or maybe it's all kumbaya and she ends up with Charles and Marshall together and they're one big happy polyamorous family. I don't know.
There we go. Surprise ending.
There we go. It'll end like
ending,
Bandit. Have you seen the movie Bandit?
Yeah.
It is
what?
karma. It is karma, right?
Yeah.
She gets all of them in her
I know. Well,
That's true.
Bandits, she says, I can't choose between the two of you because together you're the perfect man. And I'm like, well, there's karma for you. Okay. Sure.
It's the twist ending that Mongi said that nobody's gonna be expecting it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe they're just going to run at each other really fast.
And since it's polyamorous, just go throw ahead Monica in the mix, and then you've got all of her, fanfic love Sam with Sam relationships. She's just with everybody, right? Well, that's one little thing. Sam, I'm not worried about who she ends up with, because Sam is the way she's written, she could be good for anybody. She could be happy with anybody. You find somebody who's a good person and treats her well, and she'll be happy in that relationship. For me, the story is more which relationship, who is going to benefit from being with Sam. So that to me is the story for me, because the way Sam's written, she could be happy with Monica, she could be happy with Charles, she could be happy with Umid.
Yeah.
So that's she's gonna be such a powerhouse. I mean, she's got her moments, but she has where she questions herself, but she has such powerhouse moments, and seeing her mom, she's gonna be a powerhouse character when she just gets through her, leveling up. And so I just see her being happy with anybody, and I'm just waiting to see who can be happy with her, who can find their peace from their grief and trauma with her. So, because she's going to be the healer in their life, I guess.
I want to do like a final poll when we close, and to be like, you know, who do you think it is? Do we have any thoughts to share before we do our final poll?
This is all confusing.
Oh, okay, I think I think that might be.
I think
We're
we'll
ready?
just have to wait and see what
Yeah.
the next episodes.
Mm-hmm.
We've still got at least one season, maybe even more. So I've heard her say that it's a lot more flexible, so she doesn't have to feel rushed. So we've
All
got
right.
at least one. We need to find out. We still need to find out what Charles chooses with 𝗟𝗲𝘁𝘀𝗀.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We still need to find out what Mr. Lawson is shady. I kind of think that maybe Mr. Lawson is behind Charles's
Job offer.
what?
Job offer.
Yeah.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
Like I kind of feel like maybe he's orchestrating this job offer to get Charles out of the way, because I still think he's aware of all of the spying that's been done. He's probably got that PPPPP app, you know, pumpkin peachy poo protection protocol, I think.
Yes.
So maybe we're running out of time, and maybe he sees that there's a relationship brewing there and he's trying to get Charles out of the way. I don't know. And so does he choose? That's another reason why I thought it might be Dion, because Charles might be Dion, because if he does end up taking that job, then that doesn't keep him out of the story. You know, they still have, they still can connect and talk and without it being weird. So Marshall's her next door neighbor. She doesn't really need the special moments here.
Sure.
I get dinner.
Oh,
Yay.
okay, so
I don't even know what it is.
I'll pop off to our dinners or to bed.
Oh, we actually talk about the Greek mythology of Dionysus.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes. That's a very cool theory.
Yeah. So the story, there's two ways you can see it. The Marshall way or the Charles way.
Which,
So
so much.
I know, right?
Clarity.
Yeah. Either way, we don't really know exactly where it's going to go. So the story, though, of Ariadne and Dionysus is Ariadne falls in love with an Athenian hero named 𝗪𝗪𝘃. And 𝗪𝗪𝘃 is the one that works in the labyrinth to find the Minotaur and slay the Minotaur. Okay. So she falls in love with him and helps get him through the maze and escape the maze alive. Okay. And then 𝗪𝗪𝘃 takes her to the island of Nixos. I can't remember. It's like Nixos or something. Nixos. And he leaves her there alone to die. Some people think that it was Dionysus that got 𝗪𝗪𝘃 to go and leave because he wanted her. But most theories, it just says that he just left her. Okay. So 𝗪𝗪𝘃 could what?
He doesn't care about her.
Yeah, just leaves her. Breaks his promise and just leaves her, doesn't care about her. And then Dionysus is the god that finds her alone sleeping on the island, and he saves her, and when she wakes, he marries her. He falls in love with her, and she wakes up and he saves her and marries her. So you could look at it, obviously, with Marshall, because Dionysus is the god of wine. She's done some fanfic where there's been cups of wine on either side of Marshall and Sam. And then he's also the god of theater. So it could be, I could see it both ways, in all honesty. I don't see that as a definitive proof. It's just little drops here. So if that's the case, then maybe Charles is 𝗪𝗪𝘃. He is interested in escape rooms. So maybe that could be the link to labyrinths.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, you know, he could leave her stranded. I mean, we've got that thing in Ruminate where he leaves, he doesn't choose that. So yeah, so those are definitely connections that could make 𝗪𝗪𝘃 Charles. But I also thought that
right, if he goes to England, Charles goes to England, and now who's left?
Leaves her flat. Yep. Yep. Maybe Charles is just out of the picture for good. But to say that he didn't care for her, we already know that that's not true. So
get it out of trauma, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then Dionysus, it could be Marshall, where he comes and picks her up, saves her, but that doesn't make sense to me either, because who's really doing the saving at this point? You know, Sam is going to be the one to heal Marshall. Marshall's not going to be the one to heal Sam if they end up together. Well, maybe, I mean, to some extent, but
yeah, I think good couples both need each other, you know.
mm-hmm. So the other way is, I was thinking that Theseus was Link, which made much more sense to me, because there's no physical attraction there. There's, you know, a connection, but not romantically. And so he leaves her. And then who was the one to
help him in the hospital, right? He was dealing with his dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Lead him through his darkness, his you know, his labyrinth of sort in his mind, you know, getting him. And then also, you know, Link was really into mythology as well. He helped her create the Ruminate puzzles and whatnot. So Theseus could be Link, and Charles, I thought Charles would have been Dionysus, and who was the one to pick her up after she was, you know, her ego was deflated, you know, lust was literally killed, squashed, and who was the one to get her to first see herself as a woman and help her see value in herself. I could see that as the saving. She still has a long way to go, but Charles has done a lot for Sam emotionally so far, which is a reason why I kind of feel like if his story just ended because he left, I don't think that's going to happen. I think he might leave, but I don't think his story will end no matter what. So, so those are the Dionysus, Theseus, Ariadne theories that are out there. And yeah.
Yeah, I think Charles is the Theseus of the story.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, I do think we'll see him, you know, disappear at some point, and that seems to be where everything kind of pointing, isn't it? But go on.
Oh, for it to affect her, she still doesn't see them as in a relationship.
Yeah, she doesn't.
She cares about him, but she's still under the impression that they're under a contract and it's not serious like that. That's all something that Charles has kept to himself.
Yeah.
Oh, is she really as, I mean, I just feel like we're going to have to see a lot more of the story to really know.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I was just going to say. We're going to have to see how things develop there. But I do think it's looking like he's going to leave at some point, doesn't it? The other kind of aspect of the myth that I was thinking about is that Ariadne is the one that crafts the golden string that Theseus
Theseus through them.
Yeah. So you know, what is this golden, you know, what is the golden string going to be? How is she going to help Charles? Is he going to be, you know, receptive to it? And what is it that he's going to have to, because the Minotaur also has links back to Ariadne's father, who is the king of Crete, and you've got the whole, you know, Cretan bulls and Minotaurs and blah blah blah, blah. All very long-winded and boring, but it's I can see so many parallels, and I always say it when I'm on the podcast, I read a lot of mythology, I really like and I keep kind of seeing all of these parallels and seeing all of these things. And something else I find quite interesting as well is that some of these sometimes when you read these myths and things, there'll be 4 or 5 different versions. So you'll read one and it will be Dionysus, he came down, he fell in love with Ariadne, but then he just stole her. He was like, all right, you're my bitch now, and that was it. And she didn't get no say in any of it. You know, so it's interesting. I think it depends what versions of the myths you've read. And it's so flexible, you can apply it to so many different facets. But I've been picking up more and more of this kind of Theseus, Dionysus, Ariadne vibe.
Mhm.
And I love that. I think it's fantastic.
So
Yeah.
you mentioned that the Minotaur is related to Ariadne's dad, because if so, and maybe you want to explain more. I mean, obviously, Mr. Young is like this crazy monster, protective monster, and then we'll have to get rid of him before any relationship can happen.
She did save him from her father that one time.
Yeah.
Good.
So I'd have to go back and I can check for you now. But I think it was, you know, previous generations. Who is the mother of the Minotaur? Pasiphae.
Oh yeah, I remember that story where she, yeah,
Fell in love
another
with the
interest in
bull.
Greek
We'll
mythology is really messed up.
So she was one of the nymphs, and yeah, the wife of Minos. So it all comes back to Crete. It's all the Cretan royal family. So I suspect if I looked, it's probably a couple of generations back from where Ariadne is much further down. But the Minotaur is directly, you know, linked very closely to Ariadne.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay, so as for our final poll, who do you think Zion is? Sabra.
Don't know. This has made it worse.
Yeah.
I think it's likely that it's Marshall, but I still feel in my gut it's Charles, and that's mostly because that's where I feel like I want the story to be headed. And I was kind of underwhelmed with the reveal. So I'm hoping that's not the real reveal, but it's definitely a possibility because there's lots of links to Marshall as well as with Charles, and the ones with Charles are a little bit harder to find, so it's very easily Marshall, but I don't find as much excitement in it as I do with it being Charles. So I'm just gonna stick with Charles.
No surprise there. All right, one vote for Charles. Krystine.
Yeah. Okay, so when I first read it and like it was like, oh, right, Marshall, I was like, okay, it's Marshall. I'm like, okay, mystery solved. Okay, moving on. But I don't know, this whole discussion now, I'm like, I don't know. I really don't know. Like, there's valid points for like everything, but I don't know. My gut is telling me that the simplest answer is the right one, so I'm gonna say it's Marshall.
Right. Okay, one vote for Marshall, one vote for Charles. Sadie.
Actually, the same as Krystine. When I read the episode the first time, I was like, okay, it was Marshall, and I just, you know, accepted that it was Marshall. And discussing everything with you has made this. My brain has exploded.
My brain hurts.
I don't understand anything anymore. I don't know who I am. But I think from a kind of story writing point of view, I think it's probably Marshall. Whether I want it to be Marshall or not is a different matter, but yes, I feel like that would need to be the next natural step to continue the kind of the main plot that we've got going on.
Okay, so 2 Marshalls, one Charles. Okay, so I thought it was Marshall all along. Although the truth is, I always also thought it was by a third character. And when I read it last night, I didn't think it was Marshall. And it was right away, I was like, that's not Marshall, just because of how I reacted. And I still kept thinking it's a third character. But I don't know if that's an option. I'm giving myself my own poll. I don't know. Okay, if I'm gonna have to choose between Marshall and Charles, just solely based on the way that he's been acting all along and his personality and how he talks, sounds like Marshall to me. So if I'm pushed against the wall, I'm gonna say Marshall.
I'm not surprised I'm on this hill alone, so
My real answer is I don't know, but you know, it's
I
not
think that's everybody. Well, yeah, there's definitely some people who are like, yes, it's Marshall, and yes,
Yeah,
it's Charles.
yes. A lot of the comments were like, yes, finally, it's Marshall. We knew it all along.
Yep. For me, I guess my hope is moving forward is that we get to see all of them progress through and level up and improve their lives. I don't want to see, in all honesty, I don't want to see Charles alone at the end of this. Really? If I'm gonna just be completely honest, at the end of this, I don't want to see Charles alone. I want to see him happily married with a family, with little kids, because I want, it doesn't have to be with Sam.
Yep.
No, I would like it to be with Sam because they've got some killer awesome chemistry. That's another thing. We've got very little that we've seen from her and Marshall all the way up to almost the end of season 3. And now we're going to start this. It's like, okay, all right. But I've got all of this history with the chemistry with her and Charles. And I'm like, ooh, you know, that's something hot you want in a marriage too, right? You want it steamy, but you also want the deep connection, the communication that they can have. And so I would love it to be with Charles or with Sam. But
I don't think, I never thought Sam and Charles had a similar compatible personality. I always thought Sam and Marshall had a much more similar compatible personality. Once again, okay, couples maybe don't have to be the same. Maybe, you know, opposites attract. I don't know what brings Sam and Charles together. It's hard to say this because like obviously they get along very well, and I like both of them independently. I've always said that I like Charles myself, but I don't know why I don't see them together. I can't believe I'm saying this. What is going on?
It's to see them happily together. Charles would have to get rid of his chains. Charles would have to allow himself to become who he was before all of the trouble, or at least back to what a version of that self. I mean, obviously sadder but wiser, you know, it happens. He's not going to revert back to who he was exactly before that, but he would need to show more of his old self. The self that I think is there would definitely be a part of that. And but it's just not something that we've quite seen yet. So who knows? I just don't want to see Charles alone after all of this.
Yeah.
If he can be in a relationship and happy and a healthy relationship that with somebody that he trusts fully, then it'd be a success in my book.
Yep.
So.
Well, I have to say we have to wait and see. I don't think next episode is going to answer anything, unfortunately. I think Monday's going to keep stringing us along.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the first episode starts off with Marshall going, I can't believe it was Sam, and then we'll know.
Yeah.
No. You know what it's going to be? It's going to start off, I can't believe it was Sam. And then he like, you know, opens up the door and he's like, I can't believe it was you who was knocking today. Like,
I know, right? Just to mess with our brains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely been entertaining. Everyone is getting a lot of good debating and discussion out of this. So
my brain hurts.
Just call this episode.
Can we just know, please? Can we just get an answer?
Well, and if we have got, maybe we have gotten our answer and that was the reveal, and let's just find out more about the story. Let's find out about 𝗟𝘂𝗀𝘀. Let's find out about Mr. Lawson. Let's find out about this next roller coaster ride, right? If this was the Dion arc, you know, that big stretched on who is Dion, and this is it, then fine, let's be done with it. Let's move on with the rest of the story.
Nope. Well, it was a blast having this emotionally gut-wrenching discussion with y'all. I feel drained. I really do.
Yeah, same.
I've been having to watch other things just to keep my mind off of it because my brain won't shut up.
We should have a formal style debate, by the way. This whole episode was really one big debate. So. All right. Well, enjoy your dinners and your beds, etc., etc. Have a wonderful night. Night.
Good night, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you to my current patrons: Susie, Lady Libris, Lily, Jenny, Molly, Veronica, Emily, Jo Rochelle, Saucy Toggles, Ian Rose, Priya, Alexa, Misty, Joanne, Patty, Emilda, Esther, I'm watching people, 𝗪𝗲𝗂𝗀𝗃, Marie, Emily, Jean, Jen, Erin, Kate, Lily, Beckett, Sorrenta, Krystine, Sadie, Kelly, Daniel, Teresa, Mrs. Castaldo, Dan, Tatiana, and Louisa. Your support is truly appreciated.